William Morris to do the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation, sir.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings we receive. Please give us the strength and guide us to govern and do what's best for the people of Harnett County. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen. If you'll remain standing, we're going to do the Harnett County Heroes. Remember, he's not here, but she's going to read it anyway.
Ronald J. Rabin, Lieutenant Colonel, Silver Star. For gallantry in action while engaged in military operations against an armed hostile force in Cambodia, Lieutenant Colonel Rabin distinguished himself while serving as battalion commander of 1st Battalion, 22nd Infantry, 4th Infantry Division. On 9 May 1970, Colonel Rabin received word that Company C, 1st Battalion, 12th Infantry, had suffered several casualties after making contact with an unknown-size enemy force. Colonel Rabin immediately flew to the contact site and, with complete disregard for his personal safety, ordered the pilot of his command helicopter to land near the contact site. Colonel Rabin then maneuvered through intense hostile fire to provide the company commander with tactical information. Colonel Rabin remained with the company, giving personal guidance and specific directions as the unit overcame the enemy. Lieutenant Colonel Rabin's personal bravery, outstanding leadership, and exemplary devotion to duty are in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. On May 12, 2026, your name and citation that appear on the Harnett County Wall of Heroes and will remain so forever as part of the history of Harnett County is being duly recognized for your act of heroism while serving in the United States Armed Forces. We as a county come together to commend you for your actions and dedication to this great nation. Senator Rabin has relocated to Florida and is recovering from surgery. He is watching the live broadcast and extends his warm wishes to you all. He is truly honored and is grateful for the board and the citizens of Harnett County in recognizing all of its heroes. Thank you.
All right, consider any additions or deletions to the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as printed, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hear none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 5, opioid task force and settlement dollars update and input from local and municipal officials.
All right. Well, good morning, members of the board. Hope everybody is well. So this is our annual report to the board and to hear from our municipal officials if they have any questions, comments that they'd like to see as far as what's happened throughout the year. So we'll be going through the presentation. With me is Chris Appel, co-chair, and our new co-chair is Ainsley Johnson, health director. With her knowledge, experience, and relationships, it's been a breath of fresh air to have her join us. I'd also like to introduce, I think you already met Kayla Chamali, our new opioid task force coordinator. She started back in March, and she has hit the ground running and doing an excellent job. Also, Natalie True is our detention clinical social worker. She started the same day Kayla did, so I really enjoy getting to know her, and I'm very excited about what's going to happen in our detention center with her being in place now. So with that being said, you see in front of you how our executive committee and subcommittees are set up as far as the way the settlement funds are dispersed. We have 3 subcommittees, education and prevention. You see the co-chairs there, as long as treatment and recovery and harm reduction. And then all that comes to the executive committee when a proposal was brought before us, and then it comes before, of course, you, the Board of Commissioners, for final approval. And I'm going to let Chris go through a little bit of the financial update of where we're at to current year to date.
Okay, so just again, a reminder of the money that we will be receiving over the next 18 years through 2038. We've had some additional settlements over the last few years, so the number now is totaling almost $12 million at this point that we will receive over that time period. And again, as you'll see, most of the payments are front-loaded on the first half of the payments, and then they'll gradually dwindle down from there. So, from a financial standpoint, as I mentioned, we'll get around $12 million. As of right now, total cash in hand is $4.6 million. Current allocations you'll see below total around $600,000. Some are being spent, some are not. Contracts have just been signed. Some, like for example, North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition, we were fortunate enough to have Alliance Health step in and fund them for the first year, so that's kind of on hold until later in the next few months. So, and then the last one, Dunn Powell, you all just approved to fund them. We just sent a contract over them for their review, so hopefully they'll be spending that soon. Now, that's about $600,000 spent, so obviously we have about $4 million that's available. It does sound like a lot, but just as a reminder, it can go very quickly depending on some programs. We do know, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit, about the LEAD program that's going to start in the jail. We'll have 1 year's worth of funding, but after that, we're going to have to find some additional funds, maybe settlement dollars. So that could be expensive. A drug treatment court, we all know from the Veterans Treatment Court how expensive that is. So just as a reminder, while $4 million is a lot, some of these large ticket items can really start taking up a lot of that money. So next, we'll go into the timeline of events.
All right, so I'll share a little bit about the timeline for this fiscal year. So in August, Harnett County School System did their pilot program with their school buses for naloxone, and that has gone very well. Also in August, Campbell University had their first training for faculty and staff that was around stigma reduction, opioid overdose response, and naloxone training. They are now going to start that every year for their faculty and staff. And also Campbell School of Medicine students, their first year medical students had the same training, and that is something they've now incorporated into their curriculum for all first year medical students.
As well as our Recovering Hope Conference that Dr. Tillman did an excellent job putting together at Campbell University. Is able to highlight, educate, and bring folks together with relationships to build as far as the opioid epidemic in our county. I know Commissioner Coy's been well versed in that. It's been a very good conference. He's done it year after year, and we were pleased with how that turned out. I mentioned hiring Kayla and Natalie as far as our coordinator and our clinical social worker. Our LEAD program, Law Enforcement Diversion, that kicked off March 24th. We were one of 7 or 8 different organizations to be a part of this throughout the state. So Chris will talk a little bit more about that in the later slides, but the Governor Stein was there, Secretary of DHHS, Senator Bergen. We had a very big showing in Fayetteville. Fayetteville is one of the first organizations the police department put together a LEAD program in the state of North Carolina. So we've got a very good neighbor that's helping us with that. So we're excited about that opportunity to build those relationships to move forward with LEAD. Ainsley mentioned about naloxone distribution training. She does that constantly as far as throughout the year in different areas of Harnett County. We had an opioid task force mini summit back in April, just last month, that went extremely well. Chris and I are going to talk a little bit about unlocking Exhibit B with how the funds are being utilized so we can share more proposals and the money can be spent in a better fashion. We're going to talk about doing SOLVE 2.0 as far as upgrading. Hard to believe we're going into our 4th year and a lot has happened. We're very proud of where we're at, how far we've come. And we just had the ribbon cutting for Daymart Behavioral Health Urgent Care, the BHUC, a couple weeks ago. Billy West with Daymart, as well as Rob Robinson, CEO of Alliance, Kelly Crosby from DHHS, and Pat Cameron and Earl Jones, and a very good group of attendants. We took a tour of that. That was the old Good Hope Hospital that was completely renovated. So if you haven't had a chance to go by there and take a look at that, I would encourage you to do so. They did an excellent job. That is a 24-hour, 7 days a week behavioral health urgent care, and it's going to really help our county as far as moving forward. Ainsley's going to talk a little bit about some data she's got on the next few slides. Oh, I'm sorry.
So before we go to the slides, let's talk about the jail MOUD program. So these are stats we have through June 30th, 2025. We don't have the most up-to-date just because we didn't have the clinical social worker for a number of months, and we were just maintaining at that time instead of doing inductions. So, but just to go over from July 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, you had 273 incarcerated individuals who received medication for OUD. 2 group classes held for staff on overdose prevention, 45 staff attended group classes on overdose prevention, 28 referrals made for continued MAT support upon release, and 74 people released from jail received a naloxone kit upon release. So you can see a number of individuals have been provided some services one way or another in the jail. So this is good because the hope is we'll stop that revolving door of some of these individuals that keep coming in because there's substance use issues. So, and we're excited again with Natalie being here that will take the program to the next level and get more participation.
And what you see in front of you is a heat map that we use to track zip codes for naloxone distribution. So the health department acts as the hub for naloxone. So any individual can come in any day of the week to receive it, or any organization can request it where they distribute it. So we work with different community partners, nonprofit organizations, educational institutions to be able to provide naloxone to them. So this just kind of gives a snapshot of the zip codes of where naloxone is saturated. It helps to guide our actions to see where we're not reaching. On this next slide, this is information from the North Carolina Injury and Violence Prevention Branch. So we closely monitor our data for Harnett County. So you can see that March, we did have 12 opioid overdose ED visits, and that's compared to last year of 11. But if you look down in the bottom left corner, you'll see our years. So as far as 23, we had 155 and it went down to 100, and then last year 63. So there's been great improvement overall for opioid overdose ED visits. This slide talks about Harnett County fentanyl positive deaths. So we have had 1 positive death year to date, and we know 1 life lost is 1 too many. So this is something that we constantly monitor to see what improvements we need to make. So, but you see from last year it was 4 compared to 1 now. And it gives you a year timeline of the efforts that have been made since 2023 to decrease those fentanyl positive deaths. We attribute this to all the hard work that's happening across our county and the areas that we mentioned of education and prevention and treatment and recovery and harm reduction to prevent these deaths. The last slide for data gives you an overall picture of the state. So across North Carolina, you can see the work of opioid settlement funds that have been used across the state to decrease from 280 deaths last year to 194 this year. So you can see the trend in the bottom as far as the great reduction after 2023 when this work had started.
Which leads us into North Carolina Harm Reduction, who's just been a tremendous asset for Harnett County. We've been in partnership with them over the last year. They have hit the ground running. Initial contacts with Dunn PD, street-based outreach, hotels, shops, and different areas in the Dunn area. We're also looking in the western part of the county and also some of the other municipalities closer to Wake County as far as what they're doing now. As Chris mentioned, Alliance has picked up that tab, and then we're going to start that over back in the new fiscal year of July. So excited to continue that partnership with North Carolina Harm Reduction. And they're also assisting with the LEAD program as far as helping us get engaged in that, involved with that. And the city of Fayetteville has been a great asset for us as well. So I'm looking forward to the new fiscal year with working stronger with harm reduction.
Sorry. All right, the next slide is from the Recovery Alive House that you all decided to fund to set up a women's home. So this gives a review of what's happened at that home. So they've served 18 women today, and today there are 5 women currently living in the home. They have space for 6 individuals, so the house is pretty much full right now. going down to idea of why these homes are important to the community. So you'll see the Recovery Alive contract with Fletcher Group Economics to do an assessment of the financial impact. So direct cost savings are about $183,000 annually. That comes from criminal justice savings, about $45,000, since these individuals are not rotating back through the jail and having to go to court. Healthcare savings of $37,000, because of course, when they're in jail, we're having to provide that direct healthcare. When they're out, they can either get private insurance or Medicaid, Medicare when they're out. And then productivity gains about $101,000. And again, these individuals, part of the requirement of living in this home is they have to work and pay their rent. So they are becoming productive members of society as they go through recovery. So as you can see, return on investment is about $2.19 saved in direct costs for every dollar invested. So again, just shows the direct impact of when these individuals are assisted to be able to provide some stable housing and get a job, how it can really benefit them as well as the community as a whole. So these are main accomplishments today. I'm not going to go over all 13 of these, but you can see that we have been hard at work here. So just a couple highlights. We ensured naloxone availability in every school in Harnett County Schools, and appreciate Commissioner Matthews for all the work that the schools have been doing to provide that. Established MAT MOUD in the jail for incarcerated individuals, which you already discussed. Established a post-overdose response team in the county that utilizes community paramedic and primary care providers. Have done distribution of naloxone through networks of community-based organizations and faith-based organizations. You saw that map of all the distribution of naloxone across the county. And then lastly, we are creating, it says create, but we are creating a law enforcement assisted diversion program. And again, I'll discuss that a little bit more here at the end on next steps. But again, you can see that this group has been hard at work trying to implement a lot of programs to assist in this problem.
This leads us into our partial accomplishments as far as where we've been. We recognize that as housing and transportation is two of the biggest hurdles we can do. Commissioner McCoy, you've been with us since day one and understanding that, and that's why it's so important to have this comprehensive strategic plan in place that allows this guiding document to move us forward. Barry, with our HEARTS program, has been working really hard looking at transportation. Chris mentioned Recovery Alive. Now we're trying to look at a men's house to put on the ground as far as getting the recovery as far as what's happening in Harnett County. The faith-based communities, I cannot say enough about that. The conferences they've been, they're a part of our task force. You know, when we started this thing about 3.5 years ago, we had about 8 people in the room. And then all of a sudden it started growing. That's when we went to Campbell and said, hey, you know, we need some help, our health department, public health, things of that nature. That's why we created this comprehensive strategic plan. We now have over 45 people on our task force that meet quarterly, and the subcommittees meet once a month. And that's what they're doing, is bringing the proposals back to us as an executive committee, which in turn comes back to you. So the faith base has been excellent. Parent advocacy groups for Harnett County, lived experience, devastating effects on harmful substance use on their children's lives. We want to bring more of that into the new year. Commissioner Matthews, I'd like to send my thanks as well as far as the school system. Assistant Superintendent White has been excellent as far as being a part of this. So people ask me all over the state, how did you get the school system involved in all this? Well, we did that when we went to Reaching Rule back in 2022. I called Dr. White, and he immediately said yes and was a part of that team for over a year with that initiative. So we were one of only 8 counties in the United States that were recognized for going through this curriculum. So I do thank you for your assistance and support. Proposed strategies, I mentioned as far as HEARTS, Barry is working hard at transportation to see how we can do that. The biggest hurdle we see is moving forward with getting people from A to B as far as when they get out of detention center, locating a housing, and then going to a job. So we're going to move forward with that. We're going to look stronger now that Kayla's on board with grant writing. as far as kind of filling the gaps as far as what the settlement dollars do not do. Hopefully, a lot of the grants that we've got with the plan that we've got in place will make this come true to form. And then supporting students at risk for harmful substance through evidence-based targeted program like LEAD, what Chris was talking about. And Harnett County to become a recovery-friendly workplace. We're talking with different employers about that, about how they can hire and support. And then, as Chris mentioned, our ultimate goal from day one is to have a drug treatment court. And we want to go hand in glove with the Veterans Treatment Court because Judge Wood is on board with that, the DA is on board with that. Commissioner McCoy, me and you have spoke about this, doing expungement programs, bringing reentry back. That's our goals. That's what we're trying to do as far as this upcoming year. So we're excited about the opportunities of what can happen here in the near future.
So you can see what's next on the immediate for the next 6 months. So again, keep mentioning the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program. So again, we're partnering with North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition. They have a grant to be able to get this program off the ground for us that by I think around the end of December of this year. So again, the idea behind law enforcement diversion is it's a pre-arrest diversion program. So drug treatment court is post-arrest. They're in the court system and getting treatment there. This is all pre-arrest, so before they ever get to court. So it helps, one, address the issue early, but also save on time and costs of going through the court system. So law enforcement would make referrals to this program so they come upon an individual for a qualified offense. So we're talking lower level offenses, misdemeanors, not felonies. But simple possession, panhandling, those kinds of types of crimes. So instead of charging them, they can refer them to the LEAD program, to which then they would have to fill out some documents and then meet with the group, and then they would receive services at that point. And they would not charge them with a crime. If they were to not participate or fail for a reason, again, they could always be charged. That would be discretion with law enforcement. But the idea is keep them out of the jail, get their services, and keep them out of the court system to help them, and then also for to save the cost involved with all this. So, and another aspect of it too is it's not just pre-arrest diversion. They can also make social referrals. So if someone's in the jail currently and they want to get services, they can be referred to the LEAD program as well once they get out. So the whole idea is be able to assist anyone that's comes in contact with law enforcement that can get treatment instead of going through this ever-ending cycle of going through the jail. Next one is expanding the school bus naloxone program. The school system did do a pilot program this past year to put naloxone on the school buses. My understanding is it's gone well, and they training all the bus drivers and want to move forward through all the school buses, which again, really appreciate. I think that's a great program, a great idea to have that on buses as they are picking up the children. And heaven forbid, hopefully it never happens, but if there ever is an issue with the child or any of the parent there, that's available for them. So really appreciate what the schools are doing there. And as Coley's mentioned, unlocking Exhibit B funding opportunities. So we went through that summit to kind of start this process. So in accordance with the memorandum of agreement that we have, you have to go through a specific strategic planning process to unlock these Exhibit B strategies. And those are much more specific and tailored to allow us to fund more programs. Unfortunately, recently, we've been getting proposals that do not fit under A. A are more high-level type programs. So we've had to say no, and it's unfortunate because so many organizations are doing great work, but we can't assist them with these dollars. So that's the whole idea of going through this, is so we can open up more and be able to fund these programs that we know work. And so in that process of unlocking Exhibit B, we're implementing Solve 2.0. So we're just updating what we did and documenting what we did, and to be compliant with the agreement that we have. And of course, expanding the JLMUD program, now that Natalie's here, having more individuals go through that program again to reduce that jail population.
Thank you, Chris. So, Mr. Chairman, this is an opportunity for any municipalities, if they have any public input they would like to make. I'd like to call them up, and I know Mr. Snowbowden is here from Irwin. Are you good? Is there anybody else municipality-wise?
Barbara's here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't see you there. Are you good? Good. Well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah. Awesome. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that is our annual report. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
May I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have any complaints or anything because I have been involved with this program from day one. It is amazing what little money you all got to start putting this program together. And I am very much in favor of you going into partnering with the Veterans Court. I just hope that you will see a vision that I've seen for working on the expungement plan for Harnett County. And that at some point, that will be infiltrated into the plan because I do understand veterans and the conditions that they are dealing with. So they need help to get them through the program. And I think an expungement plan would be a great thing. I know it's gonna be hard because I've done it. I've worked on it for 4 years.
Right.
So I'm just putting that out there. I just hope that you all continue because it's a really amazing how you all have gotten so many people that are affected by these drugs on a new, different path of life. And to me, that is very important. So I applaud you.
Thank you.
Applaud you.
Well, I appreciate the board's support and trusting us and everything that you do to help this program move forward. It puts Harnett County in a great light, and I really appreciate your support moving forward for the new year. We're excited about the opportunities. Yes, sir.
If you can roll back to your screen, it shows your disbursement list.
Look back up.
I saw, the reason why I'm saying with this, I saw that the Dunn PAL's on there, but the Harnett County PAL is not.
Yeah, and Chris can address that. Go ahead, you can tell
Yeah,
them what's
as I
going on.
said, these are the current ones that you all have agreed to fund. As I mentioned, I believe the last couple meetings ago, that the Harnett County Sheriff's PAL did submit a proposal. We were unaware of it with the transition from Charlie to Kayla. Have had a talk with them. We asked them just to hang tight right now until we get
That's right.
B unlocked. Because some of the things actually in the proposal are fit under B and not A, so it actually be beneficial to them. We can actually fund them more money that they want for their programming. So we are
Long as it's
contacting
been
them.
taken care of, that's all.
Yes, sir, absolutely. We'll remain in contact with them.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Can you just briefly tell me what the settlement directed that the funds be used for? Like, what is the main focus? Is it for rehab? Is this post-treatment solely?
It can be educate. It can be prevention. So it can be targeted towards at-risk youth is a big one. Providing treatment for those have substance abuse issues. So whether be rehab or post overdose, just putting them on an MOUD program. Really anything from start to finish. So from prevention to helping those that are in just a really bad way, and helping with housing, transportation, whatever it may be. So a full wraparound services.
Our main goal is looking to New Year's peer support because we feel that's what's going to rise that to the top. Larry's here from EMS. Community paramedics do an outstanding job with that. They have many resources and they're combined with North Carolina harm reduction. Those folks have had lived experience, so they understand, they know how to talk. They're not in uniform, so they go meet them where they're at. That's kind of the cool thing about what's happening with all the partnerships and relationships that's been formed. But very good question.
Well, I kind of see that, and while I appreciate all the resources that we're providing, for recovery, you're mentioning naloxone on school buses, and sitting here thinking about how we got the impact, and a lot of these things seem like they're reactive. Like it's a lot of post things. You're talking about pre-arrest. How about like pre-arrest?
Right.
Mm-hmm. I would really like to see a lot more focus beyond education. So you may turn one out of the program, but you're getting another one right back in.
That's right.
And I think children
Go ahead.
need to be the biggest focus here, or even prevention. I mean, adults still get, addicted in an older age, but I would like to see more prevention instead of. I love that we're providing these resources, but let's be proactive instead of reactive with some things.
And just to comment on that, that is, as we go through the 2.0 process, larger focus, because under A, you can do education prevention for at-risk youth, which is great, because, they need to be focused on and spend on that. But it's kind of looking at that, and for parents of children at risk. Under Exhibit B, you can kind of do every child. So prevent more, wide array of prevention education, which include parents and kids that may not be at risk. But of course, we need to focus on those. And so we actually had a proposal from a group regarding some prevention, just simply didn't fit in A, unfortunately. So yes, I agree with you that we need a lot more education and prevention from the very beginning so they don't run into this issue. And I think you'll see when we adopt 2.0, there's going to be some more focus on that very aspect. So I appreciate that.
I think that we got $250,000, for Harnett County clinical social worker, and which I know that's needed right now. But I would like to see those numbers at the top go down toward more to Dunn Powell, Harnett County Powell. The Powell program is engaging young children, teenagers, and they're engaging them before they actually partake. When they're being tempted and things like that, is giving them the skill set to be able to not go down those roads. And so eventually, I'd like to say in 3 or 4 or 5 years, I'd like to see those numbers at the top be more loaded down at the bottom, where they're helping directly prevent it, because it's a whole lot less costly to prevent it than it is to treat it.
I agree, and I think the hope is, especially like clinical social workers, to start off by funding that with the settlement dollars to get the program underway, and hopefully in 3-4 years when it is, maybe that can be absorbed into the budget, so we're not spending settlement dollars, but we'll look forward to that, because you're right, because that is a high dollar item that use up a lot of our funds. So we always are looking at long term. We don't want to fund all these things, especially expensive ones, using settlement dollars, because we know it's going to wind down. So we got to find more.
And what we're doing with that, Mr. Chairman, is there's 8 or 10 different grants that we're looking at to fill those gaps of what you're exactly saying. What I'd love to do is bring Dunn Powell and Harnett Powell in here next year at this time, share success stories with this board about how it's helped individuals in that particular program.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's the
That is,
whole, I think they need to stand in front of you going, okay, we received this amount and here's what we did with it. So that's kind of what we're thinking as far as moving forward.
I definitely would like to see the Powell program expanded where it's touching every part of this county.
Sure. Sure. Totally agree.
I just want to say, I know the Littleton Powell, Harnett County Sheriff Powell, they are expanding. They're expanding their program clean to the western part of this county.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a big help too, because they don't have any programs like that on that side of the county. Also, I'd like to say, all of this is good. All of this is good, as I said, that, you're going to start working with the Veterans Court and all that, but it'd be worthless if we don't try to get an expungement plan included into this right here. It's going to be a lot of work, because I know that, but there are resources out there that can help you get there.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you. I appreciate each and every one of you for time and the energy that you have put into this, because from the very beginning until now, I've been there watching, seeing, and hearing what you're doing and how you're trying to improve this drug problem here in Harnett County. And I got to say, you have done a tremendous job.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for your support, each one of you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to join Commissioner McCoy in thanking these folks for their leadership, for the time you've put into investigating and researching and trying to make sure that these funds are used to provide the greatest benefit they can for our citizens. And that has not gone unnoticed by this board, and I want our citizens to understand that there has been a tremendous amount of time and effort put in by you folks to try to make sure that we're utilizing these funds in the best way possible. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
One more question. So when I was younger, we had the DARE program, and I know a few years back the sheriff had, I think it was SAFE, maybe called SAFE or something along those lines. Do we have something that in the county that is currently being that is like traveling through the schools?
From an education standpoint, that's one thing we're looking at for the upcoming year. We haven't really named or titled anything, but you do remember that as a child growing up, it made an impact, especially in the school system. And that's something we are entertaining.
Yeah, and talking to Assistant Superintendent White he's been working on programming for education purposes. So I know there's efforts being made.
Well, I know efforts in entertaining and looking at, but I mean, even with like litter programs, I'll tell you when my kids were going through that, I even had some parents in children's class that when you guys talk about littering and they had like a class in like first or second grade, it was at Highland. And I'll tell you, some of those kids, if they saw their parents throwing something out the car window, they told them. It was the same as when we grew up, like smoking. Smoking, the big push, against smoking. Kids would tell you, well, man, smoking's going to kill you. Smoking's going to do this. Children are the biggest ambassadors out here in the community, especially to their peers. So I really would like to look harder and not have just, ideas for it. We need to implement something, and the quicker that we can, I really think we'll start seeing these numbers.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll definitely do that. Thank you for your comment.
Nothing further. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6, discuss the recommended 2026-27 budget.
Good morning. So as we go through this, if you have any questions, please just stop me and ask Kimberly and Brent and any of the department heads that are here today could answer your questions. Today we'll be going through the recommended budget and highlighting our major funding priorities, our financial changes, and departmental impacts. This year's proposed budget focuses on stability, responsible planning, and meeting the growing needs of Harnett County. Our total recommended budget includes $215.1 million for the general fund, $53.6 million for Harnett Regional Water, and $9.9 million for solid waste. These numbers reflect continued population growth and increasing demands on county services. On page 24 of the recommended budget, it's the general fund overview, which includes the revenues and expenses. Our top 3 spending categories are public safety, education, and human services. On page 25 of the budget document is the revenue summary. Oh, it's okay. Our top 3 revenue sources are property taxes, sales taxes, and service charges. In order to balance the budget for fiscal year 27, we're going to have to appropriate $8.6 million of fund balance, and we have reduced our reliance on fund balance by more than $16 million compared to last fiscal year. The recommended tax rate remains unchanged at 59.1 cents. Each penny on the tax rate generates approximately $2 million in revenues, so maintaining the current rate provides stability while also meeting our operational needs. The key priorities for next fiscal year is to restore and maintain a healthy fund balance at and above 20%, increase debt service commitment to supporting building 2 new high schools, and to maintain existing service levels across all county departments while preparing for our growth. In order to recruit and maintain or retain good employees, we must remain competitive with our surrounding towns and counties. We don't necessarily have to be higher, but just competitive. And to do that, we're recommending a 3% cost of living adjustment, a 2% market adjustment based on our compensation study, and a 1.5% merit increase based on the employee's evaluations. And it also covers an employer-paid retirement and health insurance increases. And as our county continues to grow, so does our need to provide additional services. So therefore, we're recommending 9 new general fund positions that are going to be focused on public safety, social services, the libraries, and inspections. Register of Deeds is also requesting 1 new Deputy 1 position because Harnett County has been selected to become a passport acceptance agency, and so this position will generate enough revenue to cover the position itself. In Harnett Regional Water, we're recommending 6 new full-time positions. 4 of these positions are under the Water Distribution Division, and that is to staff a new crew. We're recommending 9 reclassifications in the general fund departments to accommodate changes in duties and responsibilities of these positions. And some of these positions are based on the compensation study recommendations. 7 of those positions are in animal services, and those are based on the recommendations of the study. We're also recommending 1 special salary adjustment for an employee in Parks and Recreation. We're recommending 6 reclassifications in Harnett Regional Water to accommodate changes in duties and responsibilities. And we're also requesting 2 special salary adjustments in the Water Distribution Division. So the next few slides are based on the recommended new programs, services, or other additional costs, but they do not include the new positions. The additional information on each of these positions can be found in the budget document. I'm sorry, but the recommended expansions on each of these programs can be found in the budget document. So investments in the library renovations, the bookmobile will be going into service next fiscal year, and to expand e-library programs. For Parks and Recreation, a new piece of equipment. Currently, they're always having to borrow a mini excavator or rent one, so they're asking for a new one. For Human Resources, to expand our employee engagement program. In facilities is to replace a vehicle. And in the tax department is for an annual subscription to an online database for commercial real estate analytics. For Central Carolina Community College, to increase funds for operating and capital needs. Their operating costs include the utilities, custodial and maintenance supplies, salary and benefits, retirement, and insurance. It also covers a small business center coordinator position that will serve Harnett County. And it also includes various maintenance projects such as flooring, landscaping, and additional HVAC system replacements. For Harnett County Schools, an additional $2 million for current expenses, along with $6 million to start to increase our debt services for Highland High School and the CTE High School, as well as continue funding the $1.4 million for maintenance projects that's listed in the CIP, and $1 million for capital outlay. For environmental protection allocation, to allocate money for a service agreement for a full-time beaver management trapper and to replace a truck for soil and water. In public safety investments for vehicle replacements, upgraded drones for emergency services, and a 10% increase across the board for our rescue districts. For the Sheriff's Office, to replace their drones, additional in-car camera systems, and 10 flock cameras in 5 different locations. For transportation, for Hearts is to continue with the grant-matched funds to replace 3 transit vehicles, along with equipment that's needed for the fleet, and a courtesy vehicle for the Jetport to support increased pilot and visitor traffic, as well as for the director to drive. The recommended budget for Harnett Regional Water is $53.6 million. On page 124 of the budget document is their budget summary for their revenues and expenses. On page 125 is a breakdown of their revenues. Harnett Regional Water's recommended budget includes investments in vehicles, generators, excavators, and equipment needed to maintain a reliable water and sewer system. Additional equipment is also being requested in the Water Distribution Division for their new crew. The Harnett Regional CIP is submitted with the recommended budget, and it will become part of the budget approval process. The solid waste recommended budget is $9.9 million. On page 134 is their budget summary for expenses and revenues. Their only expansion request is for a special salary adjustment for one of their employees. On page 135 is their revenue summary. The total cost for the general fund recommended expansion is $4,902,332. The total cost for Harnett Regional expansions is $2,004,482, and solid waste expansion is $6,869. On page 196 of the budget document are the recommended fees, and the fees include the fee changes along with the justification for the changes. And those changes are in animal services, development services, emergency medical services, the Jetport, health, register deeds, sheriff's office, and a correction for Harnett Regional Water. The recommended fire district tax rates, they all remain the same except for Dunn, Avisboro. They requested a 1.5 cent decrease, and this is based on the 2026 values. So if we have to revert back to the 2022 values, this may change. Next Monday is our public hearing on the budget at 6 p.m. And additional work sessions can be scheduled for May 26th, June 1st, or June 9th. The goal was to adopt the budget on June 1st, but with the changes by the state, we may have to push that back. So that gives us time for additional budget work sessions, and then we can approve it on June 15th. Questions, discussion?
I have a couple on the school budget. We talked about when we met individually about the request the school to put in.
Right. When we have the individual meetings with you, we don't make those changes until you get together as a group. We present and then take direction from the group rather than two individuals aren't a majority. So I need direction from the full board as it relates to what you would like to see the funding amount be for the school and how you would like me to look at doing that, whether you want me to make budget cuts in other specific locations or just general cut $2 million from wherever in order to offset, because based on where we're at, we need to offset whatever we want to increase the school district for. So that's the way I've done it in the past, is to make sure that the majority of the board would like to see those amounts change.
Is this the time to do that?
Yes.
All right. Looking at what the school requested, we last year, I don't want to go backwards from last year. And we can't. We're going to lose good teachers and things like that. So what I would like to have you do, if the other board members are with me on this, is come back, if you could get us some options on how to do that.
Will do.
Whatever they might be, I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
And then the second thing on the budget that I want to look at, and I'd just like to know what it costs if it can. With the world the way it's going and things going on in this, even in Harnett County, I know the school has been testing a system with cameras that will detect weapons before they ever get to the building. Okay? I don't know that that's not a bad system to have in every school, but also on the county buildings, that the systems would detect weapons before they ever got inside. And, was it the NFL Center, whatever it was, where they got the camera systems picked it up, but they were not detected. They didn't alarm. They could have saved a lot of lives in that building if they would have had that kind of system. So I'm not saying, I don't know that we can afford it or not, but I'd like to, if you could come back with some numbers on that. if you would.
Okay.
That's what I'm asking, so that's.
And I've had discussions with school superintendent, and what we're looking at, and correct me if I'm wrong, that about $5.5 million is what the school district would need to have in order to keep their progress going in the direction that they were looking at instead of the 2 million. So if that's okay, based on that feedback, I would use that as my target, and then we will
So
come to you.
5.5 more million or three
No,
and a half?
3.5 more
Okay.
million to
Okay.
reach the 5.5 million level. So if that's the target you'd like to see based on that feedback, then that's what we'll prepare an option for you.
I would like to see the options for that if the
Yep.
rest of the board
I
is.
would too. I would like to see the options before we make a decision.
Absolutely.
I want to say this. I think we have done good by the school board. And I do understand that we are low as far as hiring good teachers in this county. But then too, I look at this budget and where we are now compared to where we will be after the legislature vote on taking over property taxes here in this county. I think we need to walk very cautiously before we agree to spending more money until this legislature come up with what they're gonna do. And I wanna put us, and I gotta say this, I think you compared to the other counties in the state, I think you at least have done a real good job of putting this budget together. Now, I would totally say this, and it may not be exactly what we want, but we can't put ourselves in a position to go back and tap the citizens of this county any more than we have with the tax on their property. So, I think we need to walk very cautious about this. So that's just my statement, and I'm just one person up here, but I'm giving you my opinion. We already got citizens upset about the increases in their taxes, and we can't do anything about that because there are increases all over this state with taxes. And I guess that's why the legislature is jumping in, trying to take over our ability to run our county based on what's needed on our property taxes. So that's all I gotta say. Thank you for allowing me to say what I gotta say.
On the fire district rates, I didn't see Irwin on here. Have I overlooked it?
It's Duke. Duke.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing.
That's okay.
Yep, you're right, absolutely right.
While I agree with the watching of spending, I have a request for us to possibly take a look at.
Okay.
So, as we understand that, we're working towards a time that, definitely watching out for things, watching our spending even more closely. We got to also understand nonprofits and what they do, what they provide, and the services they provide to the county that we cannot afford even at,
I argued that years ago, but you argued me back. No nonprofit.
So, I would like it if we could relook at possibly funding some nonprofits this year. I know that we have a lot of needs. There are a lot of programs that are being affected by the state as well. Less grant funding coming down and it's trickling down, and it's affecting a lot of nonprofits here in our county that help out our citizens.
Do you have a dollar figure of total funding, a total figure that you want to put out now? 200,000, 100,000?
Let's go with the board be opposed to just looking at 200,000 and then cutting from there.
I have no problem with him presenting anything to us. That's why I was asking on the options, just give us some options.
I'm all for nonprofit. Excuse me, I don't mean to put in.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm all for nonprofits. I was the one sitting on this board in 2014, was first put the funding to nonprofit, but I was shot down. And then after that vote on nonprofit, you still gave money to nonprofit after we voted against it. I think we need to see where we are with this budget. And I'll say again, I'm all for nonprofit, because they do a service that we can't afford to give the citizens of the chamber. But I'm not gonna sit up here and agree to what that amount is gonna be until we discuss it and see what direction we're going in. I'm not against it.
No, I definitely think it's something we should take a look at and take into consideration, especially with the climate and environment that.
Yeah, and the other thing that goes in line with that is most of the nonprofit funding that we receive from the General Assembly has been spent. There's a little bit that's trickling out here from the OSBM dollars, but for the most part, it's all been spent. So this would potentially, some of those organizations that were funded with that funding may meet the guidelines that we would establish here for this type of funding.
Well, I just think with all everything that's trickling down with elderly, disabled, low income, especially from the state, that's going to be coming down. I really think that it's something we can take a look at.
Yeah, we'll do.
I mean, because they're the ones that are being impacted right now. Especially we're having arguments and we're talking about budget and tax dollars and everything, and the ones that we need to have the concerns for and the ones that are majorly impacted. I just want to make sure that we're using as many tools as we can. So, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
Do you know exactly what we are gonna have to absorb from DSNS? What all the cuts that's been taken, that's been voted on in Washington, D.C., how that's gonna affect the benefits of this county, the benefits that we provide for our citizens. I think at some point we've got to discuss that too.
So, yeah, for example, social services, the state used to provide typically 50% in some positions.
Right.
Right.
That,
And
we're being cut down to 30%
I understand that.
reimbursement.
That's true. That's
yeah,
true.
and the budget numbers that have been prepared establish a new spending level that supports DSS at the reduced federal funding rate. So that's one thing that when you look at the budget, it's one of those things that is not as obvious. The salary line items for DSS are up this year in this year's budget based on that change that occurred at the federal level. And you look at a couple of the expansion requests, even though we limited this expansion request, we did include 3 for DSS in order to help with the increased reporting requirements that the federal government established that the state passed on to us related to verification of income and verification of employment, education, or volunteer work for those that receive SNAP benefits. So we tried to provide some help in those areas.
So, just for clarification and full transparency so people know kind of what you were saying, how much are we absorbing? Like, correct me, was it around $4 million?
I don't remember the number. We'll have to do the number, but the percentage was we're going
I
from
have to get back to you.
It was roughly around there is what we're going to be impacted because of what's coming down. So to put that into perspective, that is 2 pennies on our current budget.
Yep.
Okay, that are we are now absorbing that is coming down from the state. So 2 pennies on our current budget. If we want to talk percentages and why we are opposed to the state setting cap rates, on our taxes and levy rates. Well, what is 2 pennies on that increase? That's a high percentage right there, let alone other things that we have to cover down on as well. So this is going to be a very, very tight budget season. And no wonder we had heads up from the state, but with 50% reimbursement cut down to 30 and us absorbing another $4 million. I think it's ironic that we were told to look at our salaries, in our budget when we're having to increase that. So
We are.
just thank you. I just wanted those numbers to
Yeah.
actually be put out there so
Understood.
people understand what we are up against.
If you would, because I want, before we have the public hearing at next week at the end of the meeting, can you readjust the agenda? I would like to have the discussions about the budget, the items we asked you to try to do before we get
Yes.
down to that. So if you could readjust the
We do.
agenda to have that discussion time, because I think we need, we have public comment, a public hearing on it, and they're gonna
Right.
comment. I think they need to know what we're actually looking at before they, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
If
that's
we could.
good. I mean, that way the public can comment on any changes that the board supports related to those budgets so that we're having the public hearing on the actual items being considered rather than what was presented today.
Yes, if you would. That
Will
would
do.
help us with the public and everybody else being able to understand what we're actually looking at versus what we've talked about.
Sure, you bet.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
what I'd like to see is like where Commissioner Nickel brought up the 20% reduction in social services. And what it would affect if we said, okay, if you're not gonna fund it, then we can't absorb it, so we're gonna reduce the budget that much. I wanna see those numbers.
And mind you, not only did they reduce what we would be getting reimbursed, but they also doubled the workload.
I agree with you, but what I'm saying is if we're gonna look at, let's look at all the numbers and see. Because at some point, the taxpayers can't take anymore.
Amen. Amen.
That's true, but we gotta have a sound mind as to what we are doing here.
Well, we're kind of being forced to react to things that are
Yeah,
being
that's
imposed and
true.
implemented over us, and I
That's
really
true.
think that
Well, they
needs to
also
be.
mandated the number of people you're supposed to have employed, and they don't fund it. So that makes another burden on us.
And they established the salary at the state level for a lot of those employees. So we can't even, if we wanted to try and recruit by providing a better salary, we can't because we can't hire them above a certain rate.
And they dictate how you can get your money and
That's right.
get property taxes and how you do your evals as well. So
Prepare for a long meeting next Monday night.
Yes. Should we order sandwiches, sir?
No, I'm trying to sell us
Hey,
something.
can we have supper that night?
Yeah, we might need to.
Yeah.
Anything further for right now?
And if you think of anything between now and then, we can do that work. If you individually think of something, let me know. We can always present it to the whole board and then the whole board can decide. So if you walk away and look at things or think about things or get a call, let us know and we can do that as well. So that we can present it to the whole
But
group.
I'd just like to be prepared to work on that. I don't know what version's coming out of it, but we,
Right, and then if you want, we'll also, based on what happens in the legislature, if there are things that move forward in some of those bills related to the property tax moratorium, we'll continue to use that to look at what option we would have to do if the state were to go ahead and move forward with that moratorium on those 9 counties that have revals.
all right. Anything further?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Whatever we do, we can't cut our employees' salary simply because it took us too long for our employees in this county to get a decent salary.
Yep.
We have good workers. We need to take care of these workers. And that's all I gotta say, that we should not even be considering
Agree, I found
reducing the salaries.
dedicated employees will find a way to make it happen, even if you take away some of the funding they have for their department. The employees will find a way.
Well, I'm still saying that we should not cut the salaries. It took us years for our Hunter County employees to get a decent salary. And I'm telling you what I know, not something I heard.
Anything further from anyone? Thank
Okay.
you. Moving along to action items. Item A, discuss and consider a request to approve a Boone Trail Emergency Service Relief Fund board member change. Mr. Smith.
Good morning.
Morning.
Boone Trails got with me to make a request for the replacement, Mr. Donald O'Quinn, who unfortunately passed away recently, to Mr. Eddie Holder for the Fire Relief Board member. This is a position that has to be approved by this board.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Discuss and consider request to approve North Carolina Department of Transportation Integrated Mobility Division.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought you was going to read the whole thing out, but that's.
No, I was not. After I looked at the words, I was not going to
We
do
do
that.
that for DOT standards. So what we're requesting is this is an annual requirement to do the certifications and assurances for the next coming fiscal year. That what's on the agenda item, this is fiscal year 26, it's actually 26, 27, so I just want to point that out. So the board did approve our application last year. You know, it's a big cycle, goes around, and that was an amount of $754,946 with a local match of $96,713. This covers the 5311 programming, which that is a federal grant through NCDOT for the administration of HARTS, the administrative staff, and the capital. It has nothing to do with operating. Are there any questions? Be glad to answer.
I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Discuss and consider approval of change orders for Bionomics, Dales Hauling and Waste Industries for sludge removal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners and Manager. The original change order you approved back on April the 7th, and after our discussions with the contractor and with finance, we realized we needed to break this change order out into subcontractors. So there's no net change in dollar amount for the change order. However, the $2.255 million is now broken out, $1.3 million to Bionomics, $282,000 to Dales Hauling, and $667,000 to GFL Waste Industries for the sludge removal at the North Harnett Plant project. And again, this is a revision to the change order you approved on April the 7th, but there's no net dollar change.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Third.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Discuss and consider a request to adopt the reimbursement resolution for Highland High School. Ms. Honeycutt?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I bring before you for your review and consideration of approval a reimbursement resolution for Highland High School. As we have seen in the budget presentation this morning, the next school that is on our capital plan is the construction of the high school. And a reimbursement resolution will allow the county, when it goes out to issue debt proceeds, to reimburse ourselves. So in our path to get to the distribution of the proceeds, we have to encounter, architect, engineer fees, soil tests, anything like that. So we are spending money up front. And we have to have a resolution to reimburse ourselves out of loan proceeds when we get to that point. So that's what this resolution is.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item E, discuss and consider a request to approve a project ordinance for Highland High School. Ms. Honeycutt.
Okay, so to capture the cost of what we need to do before we issue debt, I would request that you approve a project ordinance for Highland High School. This is based on the preliminary estimates, and I have notated that this is the architect's preliminary budget that was dated as of February. And if you'll notice, it's very simple: professional services, construction, and then contingency. And so we have a total project current budget of $139 million. If you noticed in your reimbursement resolution, we rounded it to $140 million because that's usually how we issue debt, in whole increments like that. So from time to time, you will see this project ordinance with the original amount approved, and then any adjustments once we get bids in hand as we start to get more defined budget numbers.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say.
Well, I would just say this right here is a shocking number. I mean, it wasn't this
To say the least.
10 years ago when it was presented and we were promised Highland High School, but I'm just glad to see this finally through.
That's what happens sometimes when you pause before you get it done.
Could have been 80.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, discuss and consider a request to adopt a resolution authorizing Harnett County to reconvey real property to Central Carolina Community College. Mr. Snow.
Commissioners, this resolution is a result of a request by the trustees at Central Carolina Community College requesting its reconveyance. The best way I can explain the basis of it is just look back in history. Go back to 1997. It's going way back. I think Dan Andrews was the chairman of the board at that time. At that time, the CCCC and the County Board of Commissioners entered into an agreement to help with the capital improvements at the Harnett County campus. And they wanted to build an administration building, and the building we're talking about is the Samuel R. Muriello Administration Classroom Building that exists now. And what happened was the county made arrangements with First Union National Bank of North Carolina and entered into an installment financing contract and security agreement whereby the county was to borrow $1 million to build that facility. And to accomplish that, First Union basically said, well, the property's got to be used as security on a deed of trust for a 15-year loan, basically. And to do that, the property was in the name of CCCC. They had to convey that property to the county while the loan was pending. But in doing so, they wanted to make sure they could get the property back, so they included a right to reconvey provision in the deed saying that once the debt was paid in full, and upon a request by the trustees of Central Carolina Community College, that at that time, the property would be reconveyed. So the finance office did a good job. The money was spent to build the building. They moved into the building in 1998. And then the debt was a 15-year debt. It was paid off in 2012 right on time. But for some reason, the CCCC did not request at that time that the property be reconveyed back. So they were getting ready to do some survey work on the entire campus. They discovered that about 2 or 3 months ago. They have now made a request that the property be reconveyed, and that's what this is all about. The key was under the agreement that it be reconveyed with the improvements at no monetary cost. So they made the request. What your resolution does here just accepts the request and directs the county staff to draw a deed and convey the property back to CCCC. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution authorizing the recovery of the real property to Central Carolina Community College.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Trout.
Chair, I need a motion to approve budget amendments as requested by the finance officer.
So moved.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right. Is that all you have for us right now?
I do. That's all.
Any new business? Hearing none, we'll move on to commissioner comments. Mr. Morris, do you have anything you'd like to say today?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. McCoy?
Not at this time.
Mr. Matthews?
Just still concerned about having a lot of budget discussions when I feel like we're still in limbo with regard to what may be coming out of Raleigh. So I know we're proceeding on
It ain't gonna be good.
as status quo, but we do know that the Senate passed the bill for the moratorium. If that happens, then we'll go back to 22. So there'd be some starting from scratch, so to speak. So I do think we are in uncertain times in that regard. Of course, I know the House has not entertained that yet, but I understand it has been sent over. And of course, the House, I think, has a bill that they've been working on as well that would be presented to, possibly be presented to the voters to possibly limit the amount of levy that the tax rate could be increased each year. So uncertain times for us, for Mr. Trout and his staff. Do appreciate your hard work. I hope it's not all been in vain, but at least it'll give us a starting point.
Right.
Once we know what the playing field will be going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Nichol.
Nothing today, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll just finish up and just reassuring the citizens, we are looking at every aspect of the reevaluation process, the taxes involved in that, how we go about doing the reevaluation processes. We are concerned about especially dealing with the mobile homes. We're really concerned with that, and we're looking, Mr. Nichols is also looking at some other counties, how they handle mobile homes. And even though we sit up here when we have public comment, and, I'm not going to get into what they're saying to us, but anyway, when they're talking to us, understand that the fact that we don't respond to it is not meaning that we're not hearing. I think most of you in here that have been coming to the meetings understand that we do hear what you say, and we respond to it if we can by actions, not by voice or words. I think it says a lot that we have no one in here today except the faithfuls that come. But we turn that mic on and send it over to video, we fill the room up. So what is the purpose of them being here? To actually convey to us what their needs are, or to put on a show? And I don't know which it is, because it seemed like to me if you're concerned about what's going on in the county, you would be here today at every meeting, because every meeting business is conducted. If that sounded like a little rant, it was probably just a little one. Anything else? We have a need for closed session.
We do, Mr. Chairman. I move that we go into closed session for the following purposes: to discuss certain personnel matters and consultation and with instructions to the county legal staff in order to preserve attorney-client privilege concerning the handling of certain litigation, namely the following case: Bolton versus Hamby, Harnett County District Court, file number CV 26 CV 1468-420.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hear none? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are moving. closed session, we're back to open session. I'll entertain a motion.
Move, adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, aye? Aye. We are adjourned.